time, and it made me realize how true it was. If you didn't see Charlie Kirk's racism, then you don't see yours either. I mean, let's be honest. This man's words weren't hidden. They were on full display. He said in his own words, "We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act." Think about that for a second. He openly attacked the very law that dismantled segregation. He's the same person who claimed black women like Joy Reid, Michelle Obama, Sheila Jackson Lee, and even Supreme Court Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson don't have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. He went further, saying they had to go steal a white person's slot to be taken seriously. And it doesn't stop there. He branded DEI and affirmative action as anti-white, as if leveling the playing field was an attack on whiteness. He pushed the Great Replacement conspiracy, the idea that demographic change is designed to erase white people. I don't know about you, but I would call that white nationalism. So when people say they never saw Charlie Kirk's racism, the truth is they chose not to see it. Because once you admit it, you also have to confront what in you agreed with it. Ignoring racism doesn't absolve you. It exposes you to who you really are.
Because you know the guy who's very scared about his security went to our war-torn country. You want to know something fun? The people of the Ukraine don't even want to be there. But he asks Duchess de Lulu's permission for him to go.
Heather from the Hood, you're not just mentally stunted. You're a group project nobody asked for. And the dead weight nobody wants. The only thing you've contributed to society is proving Darwin was too generous. You called Meghan Duchess of Sussex Duchess de Lulu like that's supposed to sting. That's elementary school mentality. Meghan has a mansion, a platform, an estate, a legacy, and a passport that actually works. Meanwhile, you're rotting in irrelevance, ranting on TikTok because your life didn't make the cut for anything better. The only crown you'll ever touch is from Burger King. And let's talk about Prince Harry asking Meghan for permission to go to Ukraine. That's what relationships look like. Mutual respect, mutual care. Something you'll never experience because no one gives a damn about you. You could disappear tomorrow, and the only people that would notice are the bill collectors. Harry walked into a war zone for a good cause, a humanitarian cause. You can't even walk into a Dollar Tree without being side-eyed for stealing. You say Ukrainians don't even want to be there? You're an idiot. They're fighting for their country. Meanwhile, you're fighting for clout in the comment sections and losing every single round. So let's end this. Meghan is loved. Harry is respected. And you're just Heather from the Hood. The cultural appropriation is rich, while you scrape crumbs of attention online, because you'll never matter anywhere else. So sit down, shut up, and accept your permanent role as background noise. States is being reshaped, and the people in charge of that future are not neutral players. Under a Felon 47-backed deal, Oracle will secure and operate TikTok's algorithm, the recommendation engine that decides what 170 million Americans see on their feed. ByteDance, the Chinese parent company, will be forced to cut down to a minority stake, while a new board, 6 out of 7 seats held by Americans, will oversee U.S. operations. But here's the catch. Look who's lining up to take control. Oracle's founder, Larry Ellison, one of Felon 47's biggest political donors, Michael Dell, another billionaire ally, and the Murdochs, Rupert and Lachlan, whose media empire has been a megaphone for right-wing politics for decades. Add in firms like Silver Lake and Andreessen Horowitz, and you're looking at a consortium dominated by Felon 47 friendly investors. This is about who gets to shape the information flow on one of the most influential platforms in America. If control of TikTok's algorithm is handed over to Felon 47 allies and right-wing leaning power brokers, what happens to the neutrality of that feed? What content gets boosted? What gets buried? What narratives trend? All of that could tilt in favor of conservative voices. Lawmakers say it's about protecting national security against Chinese influence. But what we may be walking into is a new form of influence. Homegrown, politically aligned, and controlled by a handful of Felon 47 allies. Beijing still hasn't approved the licensing of the algorithm, and Congress may push back if they think ByteDance still retains too much power. But if this consortium takes over, the platform that has shaped Gen Z politics and culture, could quickly become a right-leaning echo chamber. The deadline is mid-December, and the stakes couldn't be any higher. Because this isn't just about banning or saving an app. It's about whether TikTok becomes another Fox News. Only this time, it's in your phone, in your pocket, and in your face.
Sarah, Duchess of York, who is the former wife to Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, has been chopped by a charity over an email to Jeffrey Epstein. Are we surprised? Absolutely not. I mean, it's the Yorks. The Yorks are problematic, aside from Princess Eugenie. I still side-eye Princess Beatrice for hugging Piers Morgan, but that's a different story. What did the email say? Let's read it out. And to give you some background, she accepted £15,000 from Jeffrey Epstein in order to settle debts. And when that was found out in 2011, this is what Sarah said, and I quote, "I'm going to have to speak in code because there are words that I can't say on here. I abhor the P word, if you know what I mean, and any actual abuse of children, and know that this was a gigantic error of judgment on my behalf. I am just so contrite I cannot say," she had told the paper. "Whenever I can, I will repay the money and have nothing ever to do with Jeffrey Epstein ever again." Now, she was given advice to cut ties, do not speak with him, do not email him, do not contact him in any way. So a little over a month later, after she said that, this is what she wrote to him. Quote, "I know you feel hellaciously let down by me, and I must humbly apologize to you and your heart for that. You have always been a steadfast, generous, and supreme friend to me and my family. I was advised in no uncertain terms to have nothing to do with you and to not speak or email you. And if I did, I would cause more problems to you, the Duke, and myself. I was broken and lost, so please understand I didn't want to hurt Andrew one more time. I was in overriding fear. I am sorry." End quote. The Yorks are a match made in hell. When it comes to... I loved me some Fergie, but she has made so many bad decisions, and it's just constant with her. So this is one of what is suspected to be many charities to drop the Duchess of York. I guess we shall see, but Miss Girl, like, after Andrew passes on, I feel like the York title needs to not be used for like 100 years. That title is so tarnished, not only by the current Duke, the former Duchess. If I were the second son of a monarch, I would not want to be associated with that title by any means. Anywho, comment your thoughts below, and as always, thanks so much for watching. Mwah. Bye.
Hey, so if you thought that the royal family would be able to distance themselves from any associations with Jeffrey Epstein after Trump left the country, you know, wrapped up a good, successful state visit, you are forgetting about one very unfortunate skeleton in the closet, which still, for some reason, gets invited to family events. And I'm not actually talking about Prince Andrew, whose picture was also projected alongside Jeffrey Epstein during the Trump state visit. I'm talking about Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, who, despite being divorced from Andrew, still lives with him because birds of a feather and all that. These two being perfect for each other did not stop at their weird business ideas. She is now also in hot water over her connection to Jeffrey Epstein. In the year of our Lord 2025, and this is a story that is developing so rapidly that the number of charities dropping Sarah from her position as patron keeps going up every time I come back to write more notes on this story. This morning, it was one charity, Julia's House, a children's hospice, which made Sarah a patron in 2018. Then, when I came back later to take some screenshots, it was 4 charities. We are now at 7, and I think it is fair to say, and counting. I feel like I'm getting this in right before the buzzer because I know that there will be more charities removing Sarah, right? Now, what has caused this today? Over the weekend, the Mail on Sunday published emails that had allegedly been sent from Sarah, Duchess of York, to Jeffrey Epstein in 2011. This was after she publicly said she had cut off all contact with him. Epstein was jailed as a convicted sex offender by 2008. This very well-known photo of Prince Andrew with him was in 2010. So we already had a pretty good idea that the Yorks were willing to put up with their friend Jeffrey's behavior. Criminal activity, one might say. But once the news started to get like really bad and snowball in the Epstein case, there were some public disavowings all the way up to Prince Andrew saying like, I don't know him. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing. Kind of similar to how he said he had never met Virginia Giuffre Roberts, and then this photo happens to exist, showing him next to her and Ghislaine Maxwell. Rest in peace, Virginia. God, I would have loved to get your take on this. But by the time Sarah Ferguson is sending this email allegedly to Jeffrey Epstein in 2011, she has already publicly distanced herself from him. What she is saying to him, however, paints a different picture. She writes to him, "You have always been a steadfast, generous, and supreme friend to me and my family," in contradiction to her public denunciation. Fergie's spokespeople are now saying that the email to Epstein was actually sent because she was trying to get around a defamation suit that he was trying to launch against her, and that she really still regretted her association. You just have to trust us on this. It would have been sent before Sarah became patron of at least one of the charities she has now been dropped of, Julia's House, the Children's Hospice. The charities that are dropping her, again, as I'm recording, the number is 7. It might be higher as you're watching. You'll have to let me know in the comments. What's the number as you are currently watching this video? Those charities have said it is no longer appropriate to have Sarah Ferguson as a patron. And the phrasing of this also kind of reminds me of Peter Mandelson, the British ambassador to the US, who was also recently fired for his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. Mandelson's relationship with Epstein was exposed when the 50th birthday book was made public recently. In it, Mandelson had written a handwritten note describing Epstein as "my best pal." Hard to get around that one. Emails between these two, Mandelson and Epstein, have also recently surfaced. I think the world of you, and I feel hopeless and furious about what has happened. This would be after the conviction. This was also announced shortly before Trump's visit to the UK. And in the press conference at the end of his visit with Keir Starmer, he was actually asked about Mandelson, who worked in the White House, to which Trump responded, "I don't know him, let's roll the tape." Oh, wouldn't you know it. But the thing I want to note, which is kind of similar to Sarah Ferguson's situation, is Keir Starmer, in the press conference about Trump's state visit, said the issue and the reason Mandelson was fired was we didn't have the information that he was friends with Epstein. If he had just told us, it would have been fine. But he clearly tried to hide it, so that's the problem. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but that was really what it sounded like. Bringing it back to Fergie, where the problem is she publicly disavowed Epstein, meaning she knew it was a bad thing to be associated with him, and then went on to send him an email like the following year, calling him her supreme friend. And there are still gonna be people probably trying to make me feel like the crazy person for caring about this. Mark my words, they will be in the comments. Well, what Harry has done to the royal family is so much worse. No, that's only true if you think it is a bigger crime to speak openly about injustice you have faced than to directly commit alleged injustices, but keep the lip zipped.
Even if you get mad, even if you get offended, so what you gonna do? Because I guarantee you can't beat me up.
I have a theory about why black women and white women are having such a hard time getting along, and it starts with a story. When I first started teaching, I was in a teacher training program with 3 other women. 2 of them were black and 1 of them was Indian, and we started teaching at the same school, the same grade, at the same time. One of these women, a black woman, completely excelled. She did so much better than I did at literally everything. Classroom management, her test scores were high. She was excellent at literally everything. And something about her excellence didn't sit right with me. I just didn't feel good about it, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't feel good about it. It was internalized racism, but I didn't know that yet. So I had to sit with this idea of her being better than me and trying to figure out why it didn't feel good and feel comfortable for me. And of course, at the time, I didn't know that I needed to do the work of anti-racism, so I didn't think it was possibly because I could have internalized racism. I had to do a lot of study and thought about myself and what could possibly be making me feel this way about this woman. And here's what I discovered. Most of the media that I had consumed up to that point in my life had white people as the central characters. And the shows and other media that I consumed that had white women at the central characters often had black women as the side characters. These black women's role in these movies was to assist the white women, support the white women, advise the white women, but never to rise above the white women. Even shows that were about Black women, like The Help, had white women as the central character and the Black women as supporting characters. So I internalized the idea that Black women were there to support me and to advise me, but not to rise above or become better than me. And that's why when this Black teacher was way better and more talented than me, I felt some kind of way about it. Now, I'd imagine lots and lots more white women have also internalized the same idea, and that's why they feel okay stealing Black women's content and not giving them any credit, because the Black women are just there to advise them anyway. But most Black women are natural leaders. Society has forced them to become leaders. And so we need to step aside and let them lead, even if it means checking our privilege and letting them lead us.
Shay Nicole committed the crime of being Black and fancy in public. She's out with her husband at her birthday dinner, and what arrives at the table? A massive, beautiful bouquet of red roses. Now, Shay Nicole is dressed fabulously and on point. It's very appropriate for the fine restaurant she's in. And yet, you could, before the camera even pans to the left, you hear her neighbors. A small gaggle of women who would be considered white in this society clock the roses, and stink faces set in. And then there are comments about how certain people hate roses and, just general not nice things about her gift. She ignores them. She goes home and she proceeds to post the highlights of the beautiful evening with her husband and her birthday. If you look at the rest of her social media, you see, wow, this is a very successful Black luxury social media influencer. She has a good life, she has ease, she has prosperity, she and her kids are doing fine. When she did release that clip somewhere else and it went semi-viral, a lot of people related to it. That was a physical, in-person, real-time example of what a lot of Black women who are very successful or who come from money or who have nice lives and prosperity experience all the time in their comment section. And you don't have to be part of the 1% or a Black luxury influencer to experience what it is to move about in any kind of racist society where you are living into a life that maybe white supremacy never wanted you to have. Not maybe, definitely didn't want you to have. Now, we could talk about jealousy, we could talk about bitterness, we could talk about how maybe people are just upset with overconsumption and the grip social media has on all of our lives to sell us things we don't need. That definitely could be in that response. I don't think so, though. I don't think that's the main gist of it. What we do know is when we look at archives from the 40s and the 50s and the history that preceded that and Reconstruction, we see an America that was very intent on preserving prosperity for certain kinds of people, and especially leaving Black people out of that any way they could. Black women in luxury or who make their own images of themselves and their good life are particularly grating to people who grew up with an idea of who is owed what and what belongs to them as opposed to other people, who they think is deserving. And you can read between the lines on that one. The audacity of these Black women luxuriating in their resources, their ease, and their selves is triggering for people. And if you do have these things, people are okay with you having them, but you need to be always grateful, always shocked, and deferent. You can't believe you're here. You don't know what you did to deserve this. Social media works as a sort of digital offshoot of the art form of portraiture. Curators at the Tate Museum of Art say that, look, we think about 5,000 years ago, sometime in ancient Egypt, portraiture, or this representation of an individual person, came to be. They were drawings. Obviously, they weren't photographs because photography hadn't been invented, but it stuck around. Not only did portraits record the appearance of somebody, they conveyed power, wealth, knowledge. There were all sorts of little details you could put in a portrait of someone that could say, this is who this person was, this is a record of them and their influence and their impact. Now, portraits are political because the gaze, the framing, the choice of who's there and what's in that picture, that's not objective. That's a subjective choice always. You are determining through money, choices, whoever's commissioning it, that this individual matters and that they should be remembered, and they should be remembered in this particular way. Napoleon used portraits to sell empire back to the French people when he and Josephine came back and made themselves emperor and empress. Dictators, political figures, the royal family of England, all of these people, generations, centuries, have been using portraits to tell the people around them, this is who we are. This is the power we have. This is the wealth we have. This is how you need to see us. This is our representation of ourselves, and you need to respect it. Now, portraits, of course, require you to have access and money to pay someone to do this, or access to a photographer, someone who will willingly photograph you. We know that in the 50s, when mass media and television was booming, there was a very subjective choice, again, to make sure that the prosperity and the wealth that was exploding across America was only reflected in white families. Now, this wasn't exactly a lie, because during World War II and then post-war, there were laws, federally and locally in the state, that limited and curtailed or blocked entirely African Americans' access to the jobs, the wealth, this economic expansion that was happening because the war was over. It was reserved for white families only. So the white working class, their wages are going up, their status is going up, their ability to buy homes and to get equity, all that kind of stuff. It's rising. But the Black people's is staying right where it was before. And then you compound that with segregation in housing and inequality, and you're trapped. You're being ripped off. Now, in 2018, the Met Museum received 150 photographs from the 1940s to the 1950s to their image collection. They are portraits of African Americans from the mid-20th century, and they were put on display in an exhibit that ran for a couple months. Nobody knows who took these portraits. We don't even know who's in them. But here we are frozen in this time of war, when the culture is just completely shifting, when all these different things are happening in the economy. This proof and this representation of real African American people who were celebrating and recording their different achievements or their everyday normal prosperous lives. Those of them who had managed to eke out an existence or find a way around white supremacy to have something for themselves and their children. They are in the center of the frame. They are the subject. They are the point. Their happiness, their safety, their dignity, their humanity, it's captured forever. They chose to create images of themselves in their cap and gown, with their families, in their nice outfits, with their hats, their gloves, the things that mattered to them, to show who they were. And it was a pushback against the caricature and the bias that had been foisted on them in general society. They were creating images of themselves that they knew did not exist out there. And they saw and they knew the political power of that. In the time period that these photographs were taken, you couldn't, as I just said, turn on the TV and see a thriving Black happy family. You would get racist news reports, you would get biased discussions, you would get all these pictures and novels and all these things that painted Black people as animals, yes. But here in this moment with these photos, they took their representation back. These portraits, just like Black luxury influencers and different women online who choose to be open about their lives, it will always trigger people because it is a reminder of the way white supremacy failed. It's easy to be overwhelmed with our history or to be disheartened by the endless parade of images of disgusting Black representation that have gone on throughout the centuries. These are images we had no control over, but we're living in a time, just as people in the 40s and 50s knew, where that self-representation, that agency, that power, it's something we literally hold in the palms of our hands with our phones. Racist representations in the 40s and 50s were lies that excused laws that kept African American people down. It's the Tuskegee Air Force men having to later testify about how the United States military tried to prove that they couldn't have Black airmen fly because it was going to be dangerous and bad. But it's portraits like this that kept alive this belief and perseverance in their own humanity that allowed things like Executive Order 8802 to be passed and written, which forbid discrimination on the basis of national origin, which, that's a complicated thing because they didn't necessarily have a choice in being dragged over here. But it was huge. It was the first major piece of civil rights legislation that was signed since the Civil War. So it mattered. We're going to look at artists like Vida Shell, the political influence of influencers like Jackie Aina. There will always be people who try to tell you that representation and diversity in images, it's a It's not necessary in a post-racial America. It's not necessary now. We're trying to force it down everyone's throats. And the history always reminds us, no, we're just getting started. That's not the case. Do not ever let anybody minimize the power of your self-representation and the fact that you can now put yourself in the center of the frame. It is not always going to look like a diamond Prada encrusted slipper and bag set. Maybe it's just you walking out of the barbershop feeling great and liking how you look and knowing your wholeness and the fact that you're respected there, something that police officers don't necessarily respect. Maybe it's posting about your beautiful baby shower in a world where the ongoing, never-ending maternal Black health crisis because of neglect continues to persist. It's you showing the world and cherishing the sustenance and the food in your organized pantry, things that were denied to your ancestors. Do you have to bring up the complicated politics of it all the time? No, you actually never have to. You can just be in your wholeness, in your peace, in your freedom, and all the things that you get to enjoy. You can celebrate all the ways you're valuable, even in a world that has done everything in its power to tell you otherwise. We get to compose the images of ourselves now. The link to the first round of our representation series is in the button that says green screen right here. And please comment and let me know what it's been like for you to be audaciously yourself out in public.
Hi everyone, I'm Madison. I'm a biomedical engineer, and today I may post my most controversial video, but I don't care. I need to say this clearly. Racism is not just hateful, it's scientifically illiterate, and biology proves this. Humans share 99.9% of their DNA, so that means the genetic code of any two people, no matter the skin color, is nearly identical. The tiny fraction of a difference accounts for things like eye color, hair type, and yes, skin tone. There are no separate races within biology. There's one human species with minor variations. So the cells behind skin color. Skin color comes down to one type of cell called the melanocyte. Melanocytes live in the epidermis and produce something called melanin, which is the pigment that colors our skin, hair, our eyes. And the science behind this is that all humans have roughly the same number of melanocytes. The difference is how much melanin those cells make, what type of melanin they produce, and how it gets packaged within the skin. So there's eumelanin, which is the brown and black pigments, and then there's pheomelanin, which is the red and yellow pigments. So that's it. That's the shades of your skin, and it isn't about having different biology. It's just about how much pigment your cells produce. So evolution is what causes this, not some superiority complex. So why we see different skin colors around the world has to do with an evolutionary adaptation to sunlight. So near the equator, there's high UV radiation, which meant the darker skin offered protection. It shielded the DNA from mutations and preserves folate, a vitamin that was crucial for fetal development. So when you go further from the equator, there were lighter skinned people, and this helped them absorb more UV light to make enough vitamin D in regions with weaker sunlight. So overall, skin color evolved kind of like sunscreen strength. It customized to the geography. It's not a measure of your worth. So the truth about racism is that genetically humans are almost identical. Biologically, skin color is controlled by the melanocytes adjusting pigment. And evolutionary, it's about adapting to sunlight. So racism exists because of a lack of understanding of basic biology. So when you know the science, the idea of a race as a hierarchy collapses instantly. And this is why the science matters, because it doesn't just live within the labs and textbooks, it reveals the truth. And the truth is, skin color is a simple adaptation. And racism is nothing more than ignorance of biology. So yeah, bye.
Watch how she don't pay attention to me. Sis, can you give me these shoes? They $1,000. Just give me half. Just half. Get out of here. Oh yeah, this lady is in a deep conversation. To give it to me this fast. Okay.
Hello, my people. Lady Rosie here. How y'all doing? All my new subscribers, you're welcome, and my returning subscribers, y'all know I love you. Rain is not looking good in Colorado. Yeah, it ain't looking good. But I just needed to turn my camera on because these derangers don't really know what Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex is. I wonder why they're sitting down there started comparing our sister to any Hollywood star. The only Hollywood star who got married into that family, no, it's not only, it's a few of them. We have Grace Kelly of Monaco. Yes, she got married to that Prince of Monaco back in the day. And then we got this Willis, who got married to Prince Harry's great-grandpa. The one who abdicated his throne for a Hollywood star. Remember that, King? Yeah, if you know, you know. So it's only a few of them. So those ones there, you could probably sit down there and compare them to the Duchess of Sussex, because not all the Hollywood stars do get married into old European monarchies. Okay? Not lots of them. Just a very few of them. And you cannot sit down there and compare Angelina Jolie to Her Royal Highness Duchess of Sussex. You know, they did the same job with the UN, but we all know Her Royal Highness Duchess of Sussex actually went to university in Chicago, and she actually graduated from university. Which university did Angelina Jolie graduate from to become a UN ambassador? Yeah, but you got the answer. So you remember, Royal Highness Duchess of Sussex was in Buenos Aires, okay? And she speaks Spanish fluently, Castilian Spanish, beautifully she does. Yes, and she was a UN ambassador, as the same as Angelina Jolie, but she topped all of those. Angelina Jolie got married to Brad Pitt, and y'all know how everything ended up around here. And Her Royal Highness Duchess of Sussex has a royal title. She is the Duchess of Sussex, okay, for God's sake. For y'all derangers there with a lack of education, with a lack of performing your own research, and so you talking with conviction when you have everything searched for and it's clear, and then you're coming to present it to the world. But bad thing, all of y'all guys look the same. You look terrible. You look all made up. You look all like try to be put together with a fakery that you got the a black woman's future on your faces, and they try to even look like us. It doesn't even cut it. God created us this way naturally. Gave all the beauty on us. Give everything, and then y'all sit down there with your heinous inbred blood and bringing all this nonsense. It's always the inbred. It's always the racists who will come out with this nonsense here. You will never see any nice, a good, humble, a person with a heart of any other race saying anything bad about Her Royal Highness Duchess of Sussex. You got this little Indian kid, I don't even want to mention her, the one that Her Royal Highness, well, yeah, he's the Royal Highness, the Notorious JTB. He's the Royal Highness, the Notorious JTB. God bless you, my brother. Y'all go subscribe to my brother's channel. Y'all go follow him on TikTok, and also the United Success on TikTok, and also follow the Notorious JTB on YouTube here. You know, it's all those terrible women, and all that those Indian people. You know, these Indian people, those people are also inbred. You know, that's why they are a little bit. Sometimes some of them are really little bit. They kind of think backwards sometimes. How do you sit down there and clap for somebody who colonized the hell out of your ancestors and mistreated them the way these people did? And yet she sat down there to defend this monarchy. I mean, really? Somebody need to, God, you know what I mean. You know to go check into that India there. Always terrible looking. Always something missing in them spirit. And y'all know what makes them miss everything in them spirits. It's called hate. When you just sit down there and hate on people, God is gonna take that humility from you, and you're gonna have a devil spirit with which you're gonna be floating around the internet here to come and hate on some beautiful woman. You know, sometimes you cannot compare the incomparable. You can never compare Angelina Jolie to her Royal Highness Duchess Sussex. Nobody follows Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie is free to go. Only TMZ follows her. But her Royal Highness Duchess Sussex is followed by y'all guys, hateful people. Hateful. Just look at your own hate. I mean, look at your faces. Look at what you say about her. Look at how you what you guys do against her. Look at what your people, these are the rest to sit down here and say about her every single minute. You know when people sitting around saying bad stuff about you all day? I believe y'all saw what happened to this Charlie boy. I believe y'all saw that. When people sitting around talking about you on the media all day and night, there are some people who are building resentment towards you. They are not liking anything that you stand for. Ain't nobody following no Angelina Jolie out there. Angelina Jolie is out here divorcing Brad Pitt. She ain't divorcing no royal prince from anywhere. And I tell you, Angelina Jolie never got lucky to marry into any royal family out there. Don't get me wrong. I ain't gonna say the other part. Let me just shut up and mind my business, okay? I love you all guys. Please share my videos. I'll talk to you all guys again later. Bye for now.